Of course, beauty knows no age, but as we mature, our skin can require what? A little bit more love. We'll call it that. So if you're still applying your makeup like you did in your 30s, my first guest this morning says it's time for a change and time to try a technique that better enhances your natural beauty. For all of you women over age 40, listen up. Today's Style File is all about a makeup mastery for more mature women. Studio 5 style and beauty contributor Megan Moore is here to share a technique that you've likely never heard of. This is sort of Megan exclusive.
I think so. I mean, I like to coin these terms and claim them as my own, so hopefully that's the case. But yeah, I think so.
I haven't heard anyone else say this, teach this, preach this.
Okay.
You want us to perfect the art of double blending.
Double blending.
What are the benefits of double? First of all, what is it?
Okay, so double blending is using two different tools, a minimum of two different tools, to blend every step of your process of your makeup.
Every step.
Every step. So I've talked about this before, that when we were younger, we were like slabs of marble, and now we're more like slabs of concrete, right? So we have a lot more texture.
That's so terrible and so true.
It's so true. We have pores, we have texture, we have fine lines, we've been weathered a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So if we're applying our makeup the same way we did in our 20s, we're not gonna get the same results we are getting now in our 40s and later.
So sadly, and this isn't judgment, this is just sister to sister observational information. I feel like you almost see this in other women before you even see it on yourself, but is this sort of the makeup sitting on top of the skin?
Yes, it's all the texture, it's all the pores, it's just things that just don't lay as smooth. They grab onto areas and then they don't like to spread out as much. So this is a way to spread the product evenly and give a really seamless blend from one color to the next and give you the most overall kind of smooth look that you can with more texture in your skin.
Is this for every woman over a certain age?
I think so. I think it doesn't add much time to your routine, but it does. The benefits are there, so I think it's worth it.
Okay, you say there are 6 different options to pick up for each application, and from there we can pick our own 2 for the makeup product we're putting on our faces. Is that right?
Exactly. There's brushes, there's sponges, there's all different things, and they each have individual benefits. So you want to pick and choose which benefits you want, and then I always kind of mix and match until I find the perfect blend. Sometimes I'll try things in a different order, and then I'll discover something new. So yeah, it takes a little experimenting, but then once you get it, you get it.
I feel like I'm going to a class, a beauty class.
You are.
And 2 tools.
Yes.
For every makeup product.
Every step. So foundation to your eyeshadow, your blush, everything.
Okay, first in our arsenal, the dense bristle brush.
Yeah. So this is a brush where the bristles are really packed together. They don't move a lot. They don't sway, and they're designed for stamping. So think about a paintbrush versus a stamp, right? It's the same concept. So a brush like this is designed to stamp product. It's going to keep it in the same place. It's not going to move it around a lot. So this is a really great option for kind of putting on your foundation, putting on your concealer, and pressing it into those pores.
Anywhere you want the makeup to not move. Like I am going to directly put that at this place on my face.
And I want it to cover there, so I don't want it to spread out a lot.
You like this brush? Okay,
so this is my favorite foundation brush of all time.
What?
It is pricey, but it is worth it. It's the Rose & Ben C42. It is the best foundation brush. The angle, the cut, it washes beautifully. It's just perfection.
I feel like you've been holding out on me. Have I ever heard of this brush before in my life?
I don't know. And
it's
then
fine.
On the second one here, this is a concealer brush, same thing. It's meant for stamping. You can see those dent bristles. This is an Anissa brush, and so that's going to stamp your concealer and keep it exactly where you put it.
But that would just be step 1.
Yep.
That would be the single blend.
Yes.
And there would be another tool that we're going to talk about down the row that would help us there. Okay, the loose bristle brush.
Okay, so on the opposite end of it, loose bristles are going to move. They're going to sweep as we draw them across the skin. So what are they going to do? They're going to spread product out, okay? So you need to decide, do I want this product to grow on my face, or do I want it to stay put? So if I want it to grow, I want a bristle that's going to sweep. So I love this putty brush. This is the e.l.f. Putty Blush brush, and it has very sweepy bristles. You can see they move and they bend a lot, but it's a small brush. So even though it's going to like bring the blush outwards, it's still not going to be too big because the brush itself is small.
Yeah, that's a mini. That's for blush?
Yep, that's for blush.
Okay.
Okay, now this one is really cool. This one is by Patrick Ta. It's a double-ended brush, and this one actually has both that we just talked about. So on one end, it's got a dense end, and it's an angle blush. So this is going to be for your bronzer or your contour. Now this is going to stamp, right? It's not going to move around very much. But on this end, the bristles move a lot more, so you're going to get the sweep sweeping effect with this. So you're gonna get two things in the same for one brush and this one.
Okay, now I thought the sponge was it. I thought the sponge was where we were putting our money, putting our time. Not enough with just the sponge is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, I think a sponge is great for a lot of things, but I love brushes for their unique talents too, I would say. So a damp sponge is going to be best for thinning out product and adding glow. So it's gonna have some moisture in it. It has water in it, right? So it's going to thin out your foundation.
This is you wet it, you squeeze it out.
And squeeze it out. It's also bigger. This is the exact same sponge in wet and in dry. Look how much bigger this one is.
Yeah.
So it's going to spread things further, right? And then it's gonna add a little bit of wetness to it, so it's gonna add glow. Okay? A dry sponge on the opposite side of it is best for blotting away products. So sometimes we put maybe too much blush on, or we want to soften and take something away. A dry sponge is going to remove something back off the face. So that's a great tool to have if you're like, whoops, a little too much.
Yeah.
I want to pull some back.
Do we ever still use fingers?
Fingers are the best, and we should definitely use them. They are free, first of all. Everybody has them. And they have some unique qualities that the other things don't have. They have heat, right? So that's the biggest thing. That heat and a little bit of oil in your fingertips also helps to kind of get things to move a little bit more emulsified, right? They also can get into areas that brushes are and sponges are harder to get into, right? Into your eyes, underneath your lids, around your nose. You can push and pack and spread things out really well, especially where we have a lot of texture and we need to press and kind of spread on those little areas that are a little more loosey-goosey.
Very politely and cutely said. All right, the last one is the dry sponge.
This is a puff.
Puff.
So a puff is great for pressing in specifically. You can use one to press in powders and press in liquids. I love this one because it's double-sided, so you can use it for both. This one's by Real Techniques, and you can use it for both, but it's going to push things into the pores. So there's sometimes you want that.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, if you count fingers, 5 tools.
Yeah.
You can mix and match, but how do we actually do the double blending technique? You've got a video that shows us how.
Yeah, so in real life, what this looks like, here I'm putting on my concealer. First, I'm using my sweeping tool, my brush that has a lot of movement. I'm just very lightly sweeping on that concealer. You can see that the brush moves with it. Then I switch to my stamp, and now I'm stamping and pressing that concealer in. And then third, I'm using a finger here. So between the 3 of those, I'm getting the best blend possible for my under eye. And look how nice and covered and smooth it looks.
Lovely.
Okay, so here's an option with pressing on a bronzer. Okay, I want it to stay in that location, and then I'm gonna soften those edges with a brush that moves. So I'm blending it in 2 different ways.
Okay.
Makes sense,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And then a blush, I'm using a sweeping product first. Okay, so my bristles are going to blend and spread that out. But then I'm like, oh, that might be a little too much, so I'm going to kind of tap some back in and remove some of it and soften those edges.
Is that a wet sponge?
That is. And so look at that glow
Pretty,
that it
Megan.
gives, but it's just seamless. There's no start or stop.
Yeah, so a little extra time in that. I'm reaching for one more tool, but I'm working the product in the same way and using the same product.
Same product, and it really doesn't take much time to just do one quick and then put up the other one. It's really not overly time expensive, but I think it's worth the results.
All right, double blending, a term we've never heard before that we're so happy to teach you, and I'm so excited to try. Where can we get more advice from you, sister?
Always at thebeautysnoop.com and over on my Instagram at BeautySnoop.
We'll link you over to both from our website. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you for helping our makeup to grow up.
Yes,
a little bit.